Looks like football, baby.
What up, people? Welcome into the Fantasy Football Smackdown. It is a Wednesday evening, June the 2nd, as we record this, dropping on Thursday on the Dynasty Warzone, wherever you're listening to podcasts. Thanks for tuning in. I'm your host, Kyle August. You can follow me on Twitter at KyleMonth8. And with me, as always, the excellence of execution. It's Jake. Rip your heart out. Jake Rip. What up, Jake?
What's going on, man? Good to be back. Good to be back from a nice vacation there. A couple days off, but ready to get back in the saddle.
Yeah, bro. We and if you follow us on Twitter, then you were more than aware that we bumped this show to a little bit later in the week. So you got to be following us. Again, you can follow me on Twitter at KyleMonth8. You can follow Jake at JakeTakesFF. Coming off Memorial Day weekend, how was your extended holiday? Did you get to enjoy it?
It was fantastic. I mean, I didn't do a whole lot that I wouldn't do on a regular weekend. You know, there's some more food, families around, but man, I'm couch chilling. That's the life I live. Sneak a couple mocks in when no one's looking, you know.
I like your style.
I'm messing around on Twitter, and while we're giving out Twitter shout outs here, you all remember Dr. Kyle Balzer.
Yeah.
He was on with me about a month ago. I'm trying to get his Twitter handle here, but my thing's all screwed up. But I'll get to it here in a little bit. But I have the original tweet here that I wanted to read live on the show because I thought it was good discussion. It's actually a quoted tweet from Dynasty Nerds, but they said you get an offer. Okay, you get 10 carries from the 1 yard line. Kyle, I'm saying you yourself.
Me.
You get 10 carries in an NFL game from the 1 yard line. If you score the touchdown, you get $1 million every month for life. But if you don't, you die.
This sounds horrible.
So you're saying you're not taking that offer then?
I'm going up against like a real NFL team, like they're literally.
And I think Kyle Balzer's his reaction was something along the lines of, "Do I get to choose my offensive line?"
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was thinking.
That's a big variable.
That's what I was thinking.
I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. You can choose your offensive line. You can't choose the defensive line. That's going to be randomized. But you're strapping on the pads. Here's your helmet. Kyle, month 8. You gonna go for it?
No chance in hell. No, I am too small, too slow, too fat. Like it's the opposite, man. Like when D Rose back in the day was on the Bulls, every time he'd go up and make a dunk, I can't remember if it was Stacey King or whoever's like too big, too strong, too fast. Right? I'm the opposite. Too small. Too slow, too fat. That is not what you want in your backfield. And it's hilarious that he sent that out because I just saw a tweet from it was honestly they should be giving me money. The CBS Pick 6 Twitter feed is awesome. Great, good podcast and everything. Good guys over there. I do check that out if you're just looking for NFL content. But the social media game is strong as hell. And they posted this video of a 2-second clip about. It was like a Chargers-Ravens game from like 10 years ago or more, had to be. And they showed that it was like second and short at the end of the game. They handed off, and Ray Lewis just came flying through the gap and blew this guy straight to hell, like 7 yards in the back.
You on the 1 yard line crying without your $1 million.
No, like if this was like middle of the field and they put me in to get 1 yard randomly in the middle of the game, probably. But
the defense is lined up like in some sort of dime formation.
Like I feel like I could at least crawl my way to like a yard, but on the goal line and everyone knows I'm coming. No way in hell. I am not going anywhere. I will get blasted.
And I wonder if you lose yardage. That would be another thing. If you lose yardage, I'm out. Because I'm going to get blown up -5 yards on the first play, and then I'm really sweating. I'm going to be like, damn, and then 9 more carries, I'm going to die.
Yeah, there's no chance. Plus, I'd be gassed by like the third carry. So there's no way. Like it would. Yeah. Now, like it would be more interesting if like I could be the QB. Like, could I QB sneak it? I mean, I like wildcat formation or something.
I would like my odds better if I at least had the ball right away. If I was the center, I'd like my odds better. Just grab it and go.
Yeah, exactly. Something, but that's pretty funny, man. Oh man, that's good stuff. That's the type of stuff you can expect from all of the cast of characters at the Warzone Network. Speaking of, we took Monday night off, so we're still at you this week. we didn't want to leave you hanging. Memphis and the rest of the guys have been killing it as of late. Per usual, last week they had Ryan McDowell on, which, I mean, heavy hitter galore, as they were rolling their series that they did take the break off for this week. But they're going to be killing it on the Warzone every Wednesday per usual. You guys know where it's at. Memphis was hanging with the Aussie guys on Sunday night. So that pod dropped earlier this week. And the Warzone was obviously dropped yesterday, talking some dynasty trades as they took that 1 week break from their series. So plenty of content here still, obvious, for you guys every single week. So stay subscribed. Check out YouTube. Hit that subscribe button over there as well. Right before we went live on here, I saw we're up to 195 subscribers on the Warzone YouTube channel. That's pretty good. Let's get to 200. Yeah, let's go. You guys are awesome. I went to, I was checking Apple Podcasts out the other day too, a couple weeks back. Saw we were at like 198 reviews. I made a mental note. I'm like, bring it up on the Smackdown. We want that 200.
Yeah.
And then Memphis and Jerry laid it down on their show. Jerry said he was going to eat an olive or something. And holy shit, apparently that's the code for getting reviews, because now we're up to like 207 or whatever. So leave it to those guys. But yeah, man, we're having a ton of fun here on the Warzone Network. Stay subscribed. Stay tuned in. We got you covered all summer long. Jake and I are going to be rolling the Smackdown every single week. Usually on Monday nights. But again, if you're subscribed on YouTube, you can come watch with us. Quick note. So I wanted your quick thoughts on this, Jake, because these things have been coming up in some league meetings of the minds as we're getting closer to the start of the season. I've had some Dynasty League discussions about this. What was your initial thoughts on how fantasy league should be handling this extra week of the regular season? Now we got, instead of 17 weeks and 16 games, right, we're going to have 18 weeks with 17 games. So, and the trick is the NFL did us a huge favor, not really, by putting bye weeks into week 14. So have you had any league discussions about when you're going to have championships, how you're going to be dealing with that?
No, unfortunately, in a lot of the leagues I run in, we're going to wait until like 2 minutes before pick one goes on the clock. And then we're going to be like, all right, everyone, put your hands up if you're in favor of this.
Yes,
man, I don't commish a lot of leagues. I haven't put a ton of thought into it, but I mean, what are even the implications as far as playoffs? I mean, are you debating adding another playoff week or just adding another regular season week? Is that the...
Yeah, originally my thought, and I had some discussions. It was probably in the Patreon too, but with just some other leagues and stuff, and like, I originally thought it'd be a good idea, and I think Jerry mentioned on this show a while back the idea of like, I don't really like 2-week playoffs for every round, because I think it just, I like the fact it's like win or go home. The pressure's on a little bit. But originally when they rolled this out, I was kind of like, well, I think I'd kind of like to use week 14, either leave it the way it is and see how this works out, instead of just ending the fantasy season 1 week before the NFL season ended, but ending it 2 weeks before, and then we'll just see like how many players are resting and all that. And then my other thought was, well, what about doing 2 weeks for the first round only? So do 14, 15 as round 1, and then 16 would be the semis. Week 17 would be your finals, with week 18 obviously being off because we expect players to rest per usual. But then the NFL threw multiple teams on bye in week 14.
And I like that theory you were pitching too, because it makes it less likely that a team just kind of sneaks into the playoffs and gets lucky on that first week and cashes in on a championship. I mean, listen, I've been that guy before, but
yeah. No shame in those championships. No. Those banners hang just as well as those ones from the 1 seed, So
they will continue to fly.
Yeah. So I wanted to bring that up. For those of you that are in leagues and maybe haven't had that discussion yet, definitely decide how you guys want to handle it. It's different. It is a change that we're all going to be facing this year. But I think with the NFL putting bye weeks in week 14, you almost have to just play the regular season through week 14 in some capacity. It kind of stinks because I was kind of hoping we could get a little bit more creative with it. Because I mean, by that final week 14, I mean, I don't know how many playoff spots are still up for grabs, but definitely want to have those discussions. And the last thing, and the other reason I wanted to bring that up was just on the topic for commissioners out there. Saw today on the Twitterverse that the NFL is looking to maintain their adjusted IR protocols that they had last year. So to recap for you guys that may or may not be familiar with this, prior to last season, if you were on IR, the NFL's kind of had this back and forth about a guy can come, if he's on IR, you can bring him back. You can only bring one guy back, or you can bring multiple guys, but it's a minimum of 8 weeks. And it was kind of a moot point for fantasy owners, really. But last year, they instituted this where teams could put a player on injured reserve, and they had to stay on the injured reserve for 3 weeks, but then they could bring them back, and there was no limit to how many players you could do this with. It was really helpful from a fantasy perspective, because if a guy had a high ankle sprain, right, if he was put on IR, you knew, okay, for sure it's 3 weeks. I'm without him. Like, they can't bring him back, So that, from that perspective, it was great. I thought, for fantasy purposes, you kind of had a clearer picture of when these guys could or wouldn't be back. But the other thing it helped was, I don't know, Jake, you can speak to how many of your leagues do this, but like, I'm playing a shit ton of leagues, but I have leagues that you can put a player in the IR slot in fantasy if he's out. You can put him in there if he's doubtful. You can put him if he's actually on the IR. But I also play in some leagues that the guy has to be on IR for him to be eligible to put there. And now with these new rules, like, it definitely kind of changes the game a little bit. And I think you can, lean towards that rule that he has to be on IR if you want, just because now these guys are actually going to have to be forced to be out for 3 weeks, but could come back. Any thoughts or feelings on that? I know I commission a lot of leagues, so I care about this shit.
No, I can tell you're very passionate about it, but it sounded like you were in favor of like if the player is listed as doubtful, or I can't remember the other, whatever you're
out.
Yeah, even out, I'm fine with out being an IR designation. Obviously, IR is an IR designation. Mm-hmm. I don't know if I love doubtful being able to be put into an IR spot. I mean, if you're labeled as doubtful now in 2021, you're pretty much not playing, right? I mean, unless there's some freak circumstances, but
yeah.
I don't know. I guess that's where I stand on that.
Yeah, I've traditionally been somebody like, and whatever the rules are, exploit the living crap out of them. Like, if I've played in leagues where, like, if I can throw a guy there who's suspended, I'm putting him there until someone tells me I can't. I don't care.
That's the worst. Yeah. So the doubtful thing is one thing, but yeah, if the player's suspended, you can put him on your IR. Oh my, that's like a dream for Antonio Brown owners.
Exactly. So like, but with this new rule, I actually do really, I really like this for fantasy. You're gonna have a clearer picture, I think, when guys are gonna be, out through, for how long, or, you kind of plan ahead. It's, less this week to week thing, unless your name's Joe Mixon, SOB. But I think with this, you could definitely, I think this opens the door now, especially for redraft, of course. Like, if a guy's on IR now, you can make those IR slots IR only. And I think it brings a little bit more fairness, if you want to avoid that little extra advantage that some owners take, totally exploit. I will definitely do that if it's allowed, but just some thoughts. So anyway, enough of this. We've talked a lot about some random crap. The whole point of today's show, we're going to be kicking off some draft strategies we're going to be talking about, diving into through the month of June. Buried the hell out of that lead. Great hosting work by me. Don't worry, Jake will be back here with the rants next week. We're going to talk just the magic button word every year, the debate of 0 RB. So scary as hell. And then you have, obviously the last year or two, the robust running back strategy has been, as it's been dubbed, has kind of been the king as of late. We did a mock draft last week. If you kind of want to hear just our fresh takes on, how this 2021 redraft season could shake out for you guys as we approach August. But Jake, what's your, I guess for the people, what do you describe as 0 RB? What has your experience been with it? And, why don't we just start with that?
My definition of 0 RB has gotten pretty extreme, because back in the day, and even still now, people talk about doing 0 RB, and then you'll look at their roster and it's like kind of 0 RB, but they have Saquon Barkley. You know what I mean? Like, they take Saquon Barkley in the first round, and then they don't draft another guy until Melvin Gordon, Javonte Williams, and the double digits, or not double digits, however lower they're falling now. But that's kind of where I'm thinking though with 0 RB now, is that like Javonte Williams, Melvin Gordon range of players, the Kenyon Drake, Josh Jacobs area. Basically, you're out of starting running backs. Maybe Michael Carter, whose name's coming up now, is remaining, but once all the starting RBs are gone, the workhorse running backs, the guys who are going to command the majority of their carries, the guys who are going to catch passes, once those guys are all wiped out and you're left with the committee backs, and there's a lot of them this year, I think that's where you start dancing with, okay, this is shaping up like a 0 RB roster. You ever dance around with 0 RB?
Yeah, I've definitely been, because I'm usually, especially in redraft leagues, like I don't give a shit what the hot thing is. Like I've always been like, I want as many running backs as I can. Now over the years, now that PPR has become more and more prevalent, that's a little bit, I used to start every single one of my drafts 3 running backs. Screw everything else. I don't really care. I'm taking 3 running backs. As PPR became more and more prevalent, obviously you have to divert from that a little bit here and there, depending on what the talent pool looks like on a given year. But when this originally came out, the first time I heard about it was 5-6 years ago. I'm sure it's been around longer than that. And I'm not trying to give credit to who invented it, I don't really care. But the idea for me is always, after I was looking into it, is you have to wait at least at earliest round 5 is when you can take your running back. And this true 0 RB, usually round 6, sometimes later.
Kyle, are you saying you invented 0 RB?
I did not. That's just what the research has told me from other people smarter than me that have said this is what 0 RB is. The definition is round 5 or 6 or later. So I get that. And that makes more sense. The other thing that's come up in more recent years too is kind of that strategy to how you first laid it out is, you don't have a lot of high end running backs, but you have Saquon, right? And then you kind of wait. I've heard that's called many different things, but it's pretty much it's called anchor 0 RB. So you have like an anchor running back. So you have
I'll
one.
be honest, I don't hate that strategy at all. I do that a lot. I mean, because in the first round, that's the way it's going to go. Whether it's super flex, one quarterback, running backs are going to pour off the board in the first 2 rounds. You get that one guy and then just hammer wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver. I like a lot of those rosters when it's all said and done. Whereas when you go full 0 RB, no matter how epic those receivers look, and they'll be epic, and you can get a couple of nice quarterbacks and an awesome tight end, still at the end of the day, when you're looking at it, and you're like, my RB1's Raheem Mostert shit. It's risky.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when it works, it's kind of like I don't want to say an unstoppable strategy, but when it works, it works. And last year it was kind of by accident, this example I'm going to use, but James Robinson was kind of the perfect 0 RB guy. The news of him taking over the Jacksonville backfield kind of broke out actually after a lot of people already drafted and just a week or 2 before others drafted. And he was buried lower on people's rankings and ended up being a freaking stud.
Yeah, I mean, when you look back last year, Robinson is a great example of that. Clearly, he was free. He was everywhere. Even after Fournette got cut late, in August, Robinson was still borderline drafted. But you look at some of the guys last year that kind of went in the middle, late rounds. If you remember back, David Montgomery had a preseason injury. There were some question marks with him. So he was a guy that you kind of get a little bit later. The other ones that I had pulled up here, like Myles Gaskin was a late season guy. Obviously, like Mike Davis was a guy that you picked up off the wire.
That's the thing. Like these players exist, and it happens every single year. So it's maybe not the worst thing to go out there and it's a gamble. It's risky, but you can go out there and have this most sick wide receiver core and 2 quarterbacks that cannot fail, and then all you need to do is get lucky on 1 running back. I mean, even if you take you have a couple committees, you can go out there and draft Josh Jacobs and Kenyon Drake. One of them gets hurt in week 2. I mean, there's your golden ticket right there. There's your James Robinson of the year. Maybe on the other side of the same backfield, Travis Etienne. Maybe he's that guy this year. Either way, I never do it in high stakes leagues or any league that I'm really serious in because look, dude, I'm gonna be very black and white, very very transparent here, but. It just at the end of the day, I like what you said before when you said I used to go in and just say 3 running backs right off the board. I'm still super comfortable doing that, but
yeah,
there are scenarios. I'm just saying, you're picking first overall in a super flex league. You take Pat Mahomes, right? Sure, I don't think anyone would argue that being a fine pick. All the running backs go. It comes back to you. Who's left in 2 rounds? Now things are getting a little shaky. But the wide receivers at that point, we've got Nuke Hopkins still available. Stephon Diggs is still there. Who knows who could have fallen because everyone else is taking quarterbacks and running backs. I just have a difficult time sometimes passing up those guys that are going to be absolute PPR monsters. 250 combined receptions out of 2 players right there at the turn. And instead taking DeAndre Swift or whoever's available at that spot. Not to throw shade at DeAndre Swift.
But I think you're spot on too. And the thing that made this strategy the most interesting when it first kind of came onto the scene was I think it's the result of 2 things. One is and everyone's been saying this for a million years, but the bell cow running back's dead. Separate of Derrick Henry, you don't really see these guys getting 300 carries anymore, right? Yeah. And so that in combination with the fact that more and more leagues are full PPR, those 2 factors are just driving that running back value further and further down. So that it's making that class of those elite running backs very small. I mean, when you look at it, we did the mock draft last week. There were plenty of running backs I really liked in round 3. I have some ADP up. I'll kind of reference here and there. And we're actually gonna test out this theory in a mock draft here in just a little bit too, to see how this kind of shakes out, what our team looks like going, waiting on running backs. But right now, round 3 running backs, this is from Sleeper, and this is redraft, right? ADP. So take it for what it's worth. It's beginning of June. Miles Sanders, Antonio Gibson, Josh Jacobs, Najee Harris, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire. These are all round 3 running backs. Like I don't.
Josh Jacobs?
That's what it says. Again, I don't really think that's how that's going to shake out. I think he's going to fall into the next round, which is at this point, round 4 is only ADP Chris Carson and Travis Etienne. I think
the names that you said, were they in order?
Yes.
How they are on Sleeper? Oh,
yes.
Yeah, folks, if you think that Josh Jacobs is going to get taken before Najee Harris this summer, is it not happening?
No chance. But that gives you an idea of like who's sitting there right in round 3. Like I like those names, but the receivers that are there, like in a vacuum, if I'm staring down those types of guys, whether it be round 2, round 3, and I'm looking at, AJ Brown, if I'm looking at DK Metcalf, like those players are better. It's just what you're generally giving up then at that point is like, okay, now I got to find my running backs later. And we'll kind of see some of the names that we're going to have on the board when we get to this mock draft. But you asked, have I dabbled in this before? It's very similar to kind of what you said. Like it's out of my comfort zone for sure. And last year I had 1 league. You think I would be able to sacrifice more than 1 league to this strategy? But last year, out of 20 freaking leagues, and about 7 or 8 of them were redraft. So take that too. Like, I did 1 where I was like, I'm going to go into this. It was so the league type. It was full PPR. Don't know how I got into that, but whatever. It was full PPR. Start 3 wide receivers, 2 flexes. So I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to try. My pick was, I think 7 or 8. So I was outside of that, like the elite guys. So I was like, all right, I'm going to try this. So I ended up going, I went Adams. And then in round 2, I went Kelsey in the middle of round 2. And then I went 5 more wide receivers in a row. So I went at 7 rounds, no running backs. And then I went 7 straight running backs. Like I was just throwing darts, right?
That right there, my friend, that's the definition of 0 RB. And I love that, especially on teams like you said that have multiple flex spots. And you and I just did a league where there was like 7 flex spots. Yeah. And if it's PPR, that's when I'm spending the entire first half of my draft on the elite premier to awesome type wide receivers that are just going to rack up PPR points. You referenced taking AJ Brown. I mean, when you're staring down those players, and another thing actually that I don't think that we think about enough when we're drafting is like, and depending on if your league is super active as far as trading goes, but the trading aspect of the whole thing, like, I mean, just build your team with the best players, or else and if you end up drafting at the front of the draft, like I said before, it's like you can kind of end up chasing yourself during the draft. So like you take Pat Mahomes and then you come back around. And if you get scared now and you're like, oh, now I got to get running backs because everyone else is taking running backs. So now you're taking the best of, or the best remaining. You're taking the scraps, I guess is what I'm trying to get at.
Right.
So then what's going to happen now? Another 23, 24 picks come back to you. Your entire league just loaded up on all the best receivers. And you're going to go, oh, no, I need a wide receiver 1. And you're going to take the worst of those wide receiver 1s. Mm-hmm. And then what's going to happen? It's going to go another 23, 24 picks come back to you, and so on and so forth. But I kind of got derailed there. I got a little hyped up talking about my 0 RB strategy.
It's definitely in and separate. And the other thing that we haven't even touched on yet, which is clearly another foundation piece of this strategy, is you're banking on the fact that that you're building a safer foundation for your team when you're taking those wide receivers. The injury risk at wide receiver is clearly less risky than when you're taking the shot on those running backs early. We've seen almost every running back is going to miss time. Rarely do you see a guy withstand 16 games. I mean, we've seen it just when you look at the top of the board right now. These are your round one running backs right now, today. Sleeper ADP, redraft 2021. Christian McCaffrey missed time last year. Dalvin Cook, just a walking Band-Aid. Alvin Kamara, he's been pretty good over the course of his career, staying healthy. Same with Derrick Henry. Saquon Barkley's coming off an ACL. Jonathan Taylor just only entering his second season. But so far, so good for him. Nick Chubb missed time last season. And Zeke Elliott, who has been the picture of health, just get lucky from that standpoint. When you compare all of these names,
that's the thing. You're going to go in early on one of these running backs. You kind of have to accept that if the guy is going to be receiving a 70+% opportunity share and a ridiculous snap share, that he's going to be more susceptible to injury than these guys who are available at the end of the draft that are in committee roles. Mm-hmm. It's kind of taking the good with the bad. You love the volume, but the punishment comes with it.
Yeah. And going back to that, when I use this strategy, like I loved how my team looked, man. Like when I left the draft, I was like, I feel like I got enough enough flyers here, enough scratch offs. I should be okay. Ultimately I think, and again, we'll play this out here in just a bit with an actual mock draft, but like my advice probably to anyone that wants to try this out, always try mocking it, see how your team shakes out, see what you like. If you have guys that come draft season, if you have guys that you're like, hey, I know I can get this guy in round 7, I can get this guy in round 8, I can get this guy in round 9. As long as I'm with like maybe two out of those 3, I feel comfortable with those guys as my starters, and then kind of, fill in, get some high upside handcuffs or that type of thing. Maybe some PP, some pass catching running backs late, get the Naheem Hines, Tariq Cohen types later. Those guys can kind of anchor it down a little bit as well. If you're good with that, that's totally fine. Take the shot. There's more than one way to skin a cat. There's more than one way to win a championship. But I will definitely say in that league, when I went 7 rounds, no running backs at all, is that I filled all my flexes. I had extra guys. Like I remember I took Tyler Boyd. He was like on the bench. I'm just like, hell, I love this dude, right? Yeah. Unfortunately, on that league, I didn't hit on a single one of those fucking as I dropped an F-bomb. Sorry, Memphis. I didn't set a single one of those flyers. Like all of them just crumbled to death, and I'm just playing the wire every week. So you definitely have to commit to, all right, I'm going to have to spend up on some fab. And in those scenarios too, like, and unfortunately, it was definitely the one in hindsight that I should have. But like, you have to kind of commit to spending a little bit of your money early, I think, too, because now you're trying to get one of these guys to be your starter, for a longer period of time versus, if you feel like your team's a little bit more secure, you can kind of wait it out, wait for those later in the season waiver ads. I took the when I did that strategy, I was like, all right, I'm going to pay out for some running backs early, try to get on my team. And I did that with some guy. Like I got Darrell Henderson, like who was fine for a bit. He was a spot starter, but I missed on Mike Davis. I didn't get Robinson. So like I ended up having to make a move to trade for a guy. And what I found was, and that guy was Antonio Gibson. So that was great. But what I found was that, you having one guy in that running back spot that you can just, set it and forget it, made it a lot easier to just know that, all right, every week I'm going to have to go through figuring out who my RB2 is. But, that's the only thing, if you can hit on at least one, I still think you're okay. The problem was I need to hit on 2 and I hit on 0.
Yeah, that's the dangerous side of it. I don't know, man. I feel like there's a lot of guys out there that have, I don't want to say potential to hit because it makes it sound like they're like lottery tickets. And I think some of those guys are out there too. But some of these other names out there, like I keep coming across Latavius Murray, and it's like, it's hard to get excited about that. But I did see something recently that came out that said the Saints are trying to pound the rock more. They're trying to run the ball more in 2021. If there's any truth to that, and it's still early season, preseason hype time. Mm-hmm. But Latavius Murray, you can do a lot worse than him as your RB2. If they end up running more than they were already, I'm already a bit down on Alvin Kamara.
Yes,
to say the least. But guys like that, guys like Tony Pollard. It's hard to make a case for him right now, but it's not crazy to think that he sees an expanded role this season. AJ Dillon without Jamal Williams in Green Bay. Those guys are out there.
Yeah.
But it's just like you said, it's just a matter of hitting on those guys and not ending up like you did on that last roster where everything just crumbles in front of you.
And the other thing to that too on that team how I ended up getting Antonio Gibson was you got to get creative in this. You know how I ended up getting Gibson was I kept missing on all the freaking running back waiver ads. I couldn't get. I putting high bids in, wasn't getting them. I ended up getting Chase Claypool as a waiver wire pickup and was able to then flip him. So I still wasn't actually even touching all the guys that I spent those early picks on. So sometimes you just got to get creative from that perspective. But
well, that's what I'm saying. And even it doesn't even have to be a waiver ad. I mean, if you're going into the draft and you're going 0 RB, then you obviously have this amazing plethora of wide receiver talent. Or I mean, you spent those draft picks somewhere.
Yeah.
So one way or another, if you have like in your situation where you're at the point where Tyler Boyd is your first bench player, then you've got guys, you got value. You can trade that. It's not the end all be all. It's not, you don't just have to find your running back and get lucky on the waiver wire. This is all assuming you've got a nice league of people who like to interact and trade, but I've done that once or twice too. Find your running back that way.
Yeah, it's definitely mixes it up. It's counterintuitive to today's thinking kind of because man, everybody is just pounding like the running back position like crazy, and it leaves a ton of value. It drifts down there as far as wide receivers, and so you can kind of zig when everybody else is zagging. Here, I do want to run through one more time here. These are the guys that are going in rounds 5 and 6 in ADP as of now. We don't need to dive into all of these names or anything, but just kind of putting in perspective. If you're waiting through the first 4 rounds and you do not take a running back in round 5 right now, sleeper ADP for 2021 redraft, this is in order: Kareem Hunt, Myles Gaskin, Melvin Gordon, Leonard Fournette, and Raheem Mostert. That's round 5. So if you say if you pass to round 6, you're staring down these gentlemen: James Conner, David Johnson, Chase Edmonds, Ronald Jones, David Montgomery, and James Robinson. Now, Montgomery kind of jumps out to me as somebody that I think might creep up into round 5. I'm a little unsure why he's that low. I am down on him compared to last year, but that puts him at 29, I think.
That's 2 down for
30, yeah. He's at 30. Yeah,
I finished his RB6 last year. Come on.
Yeah, so like Montgomery's kind of the one that definitely jumps out to me. Like, I bet he's more in that Carson ETN territory when draft season rolls around. But those are kind of the names you're staring at, and that's in round 5 or 6. And if you're not comfortable with one of those guys as your starter, it ain't going to get any prettier from there. So just kind of keep that in perspective. ADP is a really useful tool just to kind of map out what might be on the board when you're looking there. So did any of those names jump out to you or are you just ready to roll into this mock draft?
I'm ready to roll into it. We can touch on some of these names in the draft, but I mean, just to reiterate again, it's a risky play you're going with here. You're hoping that you snag one of these guys and they end up, again, I keep wanting to use the term like hit a home run, like you're swinging for the fences, but I mean, just finding someone who's serviceable for that RB1, RB2 slot. And then I'm filling up those flex spots with wide receivers. If this is the strategy we're going with, then so be it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're going to see how this plays out right now. So we did a full mock draft last week. Jake and I had our own teams. We went through it. We did some rankings recaps in May after the, post NFL draft 2020 rankings update. Then we did a mock draft last week with, us owning our own teams, just going in with whatever strategy we preferred. So if you missed that, you want a full mock draft, go check out last week's show. Today, we're just using this mock draft as a tool just to see how this plays out a bit. So we're not going to really touch on any other players, just what's staring us down round to round, but we're going to try 0 RB. So we're going to try to commit to that. We're picking from the 8th slot here. If you watch it on YouTube, the draft board is going to be up here. I'm going to see if I can make this a little bigger. There we go. So Jake, I will help you out here as far as who's on the board and everything, because we're going to share this team and make these selections together to see how this one pans out. So we're going to fly through this a bit. So hopefully this works, because I didn't 100% test everything here, but if memory serves me right, this should start rolling. There it goes. So we are picking from the 8th slot.
Yep. And imagine that. Look at this draft go, folks. McCaffrey, Barkley, Cook, Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara, Devontae Adams, and then we're on the board. So just every running back in the league's gone, and we're at pick 8.
Yeah, so we're ignoring running backs. We're not even going to go anchor here. We're just going to say, see you running backs. We'll catch you in 5-6 rounds here. So at the top of the board, then Devontae Adams was the only non-running back to go here. So we're staring down, according to Sleeper ranking right now, Tyreek Hill, Hopkins, Diggs, or Travis Kelce's probably it. So which route do you want to go here to get us started?
I mean, I'm comfortable. I like a receiver right here. I mean, are you taking Tyreek Hill over Travis Kelce? If you've got the choice between the two.
Actually, I took Kelce last week. I think I got him in round 2. I would still go Tyreek Hill, but he's the only him and Adams are the only receivers I'm going over Travis Kelce as of right now, because I just think he's that big of a difference maker at the position. So I would still go Tyreek Hill here. You want to go receiver?
I want to go receiver just because I bet you Kelce makes it back in the second.
Okay, cool. So we're just gonna go Tyreek Hill here. That's our first round pick. Shorter turn coming back to us around 2. More running backs off the board. It's coming back. Another running backs. We got 4 running backs. Kelce went off the board before our pick here.
Damn it, I messed up the entire team. There goes Travis Kelce. At least we can still get Kyle Pitts.
Oh man, and we'll talk about this. His ADP right now is insanity, even in redraft leagues. But that's another discussion for another day. So we're sitting here in round 2. Obviously, we just took Tyreek Hill. Kelce is off the board here. We're ignoring running back for the 0 RB strategy. Is
this draft assuming super flex or
sorry? So 1 QB. So
I was gonna say there's no quarterbacks taking. I guess it would be if it's super flex. These are some bad drafters.
Yeah. So we are doing this just similar to what we did last week. So 1 QB, 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and 2 flex spots. And then what we got here, 7 bench spots as well. So we're going to go 15 rounds. That's math for you guys. So
man, so the fourth pick in the second round, Cam Akers, again, just going to show you the value of these running backs. And I mean, every single pick so far is totally justified. I don't know if this just uses sleeper ADP to make the picks, I guess, for randomization, but you're going to see it. It's going to happen in drafts. That Cam Akers pick might be Najee Harris come draft time, but how many running backs are we in now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 running backs off the board. And we're less than a round and a half in.
Right. And with talent wise, just straight up, like I'd rather have, I mean, maybe just because I'm a little bit further down on Cam Akers, but the other running backs that are available right now, Joe Mixon, Gibson, Swift, Dobbins, like I love the wide receiver talent over all of those guys. It's just, again, how your team's going to shape up over the course of the draft. So we're staring down AJ Brown, Metcalf, Jefferson, Ridley, or Kittle pretty much, unless we want to go QB in round 2, but I think we probably don't want to get that crazy. So what are you thinking here?
Look, man, I made the first pick. You got this one. White Sox.
All right, we're going to go Justin Jefferson. Why not? He's my boy this year. He's in my top 5.
Terrible.
He's coming in. Thanks for that. Glad we can. I'm gonna remember not to co-own any damn teams with you this year. That's for sure.
Tell you, yeah, man, you have all the freedom to make your choice, and then just berate you afterwards.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, yep, they stole AJ Brown right after Justin Jefferson. We deserve that one.
Nope, I made the right selection there. All right, so we're back in the third round here.
Running backs, see, it's already looking scary. Round 3, we're talking 0 RB being round 5, round 6 plus. And round 3 here, CEH is off the board. Miles Sanders, DeAndre Swift. And now if we're talking DeAndre Swift, we're getting awfully close to RBBC territory already, right?
Yeah, the guy's still on the board. Again, I think this will adjust as more ADP comes through and rankings. Najee Harris is still on the board. He will not be here in round 3 come draft season. J.K. Dobbins is really the last guy. After that, you do have Chris Carson, who I do like, and Montgomery's in a similar range. But again, we're talking round 3 here, guys. So then after that, you get the Gaskins, Josh Jacobs, Kareem Hunt group. So it's going to be pretty scary if we wait at least till round 5. Those names aren't even going to be there. So,
but now even those names you just referenced, who do we got? Montgomery, Gaskin, I'll be honest, I do kind of like Carson here, and I think he's a little underrated going into the season, but. All in all, like that group of running backs isn't super impressive. But what do we got for receivers right now available?
Yeah, so at the receiver position, we still have Terry McLaurin, Chris Godwin, Robert Woods, Amari Cooper, Kenny Golladay, CeeDee Lamb. At tight end, Kittle went off the board in round 2. So we're staring down Waller or apparently Kyle St. Pitts, who can do no wrong. So what are you thinking here in round 3?
I'm thinking a wide receiver again, man. We're going 0 RB. We're going 0 RB, not RB in the 3rd round.
Nope.
You know what? I'm gonna call back to Dallas here. I think we should get Amari Cooper on this team.
All right, Amari Cooper round 3.
Look at now, wide receiver 3, Amari Cooper. Who wants to play that team on Sunday?
That sounds pretty damn good to me. I could live that life.
Care who your running backs are? Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, and Amari Cooper. Let's go.
Yeah, that's you are going to be stacked. Just you might need to block out this running back position as we get through here. Round 4, Waller went off the board here. So I don't know if I'm looking at any of these tight ends now. He would have been in consideration for me at the 405. So early 4th round, obviously there. So we have 2 flex spots. So we could go with another wide receiver. Some of the names that are still left. Kenny Golladay, CeeDee Lamb, Robert Woods, DJ Moore, who's pushed down here a bit. Any of the Steelers wide receivers. And then there's only one QB off the board as of right now. That's, of course, Patrick Mahomes. So we could go quarterback here if we want with Josh Allen, Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott. Those are the names. You guys know them. What are you thinking here? Do you want to, we can play 4 wide receivers, so it's not like we're filling bench spots here or anything like that. And there's still some good talent left.
Yeah, we can, and I think we should. And for some reason, I don't know why this ADP is all jacked up. Maybe it is just because it's early season, but it's not even like a rookie type thing. But Deontay Johnson is just buried right now, and I don't understand why. This is a guy who is consistently seeing double-digit targets every single week, like without fail, while competing with Juju, while competing with Chase Claypool. And right now, his ADP, I think, was somewhere around 72. I had written down. CeeDee Lamb's getting. I love CeeDee Lamb. CeeDee Lamb's getting taken 20 picks before Deontay Johnson, and I don't understand why. This is the spot already where I'd be comfortable taking Deontay Johnson. What do you think?
I still really, the guys like Lamb and DJ Moore jump out to me.
Are you taking Lamb before Deontay Johnson?
Yeah. Yes.
Comfortably, like constantly.
Yes.
Man, I don't know. What is it? Is it because you hate Deontay Johnson, or is it because you love CeeDee Lamb?
So before we decided we were going to do this discussion, which I still think is definitely a good one and worth having, because this is the time of year you need to kind of be brainstorming, like, what do I want to try this year? What's interesting? And this is definitely, the golden ticket hot button, discussion, zero RB versus robust RB. Mm-hmm. But one of the topics that I keep having this on just off color conversations with people is, who the hell is the best wide receiver in Pittsburgh? Like, who is it? Like, I think I like Juju because I think he has a good amount of upside, and his floor is still fine. He's back in Pittsburgh. Claypool, second year, I think he has a ton of upside. Johnson, I think, super safe because the targets are nice, but like, is his upside a little bit more capped because he wasn't in the end zone as much? So that's my only thing with like the Pittsburgh guys. I just think there's like a lot of mouths to feed, So
fair enough. What are the other names on this board? You talked me into it. I'm flexible.
I would personally go DJ Moore here. I think he's. He's
now. If we hadn't taken Amari Cooper, would you be taking CeeDee Lamb here?
Probably.
Okay, I was wondering if that might have changed your perspective on that one, but I am totally good with the pick. DJ Moore is my other man. Hey, look, I'm gonna start a Deontay Johnson something right now. He's gonna be my new guy on the Dynasty Warzone. I'm putting him on my Twitter banner right between CeeDee Lamb and DJ Moore. Ironically,
there you go. Well, and honestly too, I think if Moore wouldn't have been there, I would have gone Lamb like 100%, like for sure. I don't care if we had Cooper, but I think Moore is. I have Moore right there with him. Like, I think they're back to back in my ranks. They got to be really damn close. So we're sitting here in round 5 now. A couple quarterbacks came off the board: Josh Allen and Kyler Murray. Mark Andrews came off the board. So those were kind of the tight end and quarterbacks that were taken. The running backs that were taken in this round, in this quick mock draft, we're doing with the zero RB strategy again. Melvin Gordon, Robinson, and Edmonds came off the board. So we're sitting here at the back half of round 5, looking at the running backs on the board: ETN, Mostert. Then you get into just David Johnson, Leonard Fournette.
Getting sweaty.
Yeah, it's getting there. The wide receivers that are still available: your boy Deontay Johnson is still available. Brandon Ayuk, T. Higgins. I wonder if because Jamar Chase has still not been updated and it hasn't moved enough yet. He's still available.
Deontay Johnson, or not Deontay Johnson. I'm sorry. Now I'm all excited about Deontay Johnson. Jamar Chase, his sleeper ADP right now is 31st overall. So the hype is very real, or so it seems, with Jamar Chase, who I believe just today on Wednesday signed with the Bengals.
Officially. Yeah, he's rich.
Yes, he's a
yes. I'm
man.
hoping that leads some.
The writing has been on the wall.
Yes. Tight ends Hawkinson and Pitts are still on the board. And then the quarterbacks, like I said, only 3 off the board. So we're looking at Lamar, Dak, Russ, Herbert. That's what we got. So what do you want to do? We want to push it here to round 6 to the running backs. We just want to commit, go another route here.
Yeah. Okay. Just because it would be a freaking crime if you didn't take Deontay Johnson right here. Okay. I'd be so mad at you.
All right, we'll go Deontay Johnson. We're going 5 straight wide receivers to start this draft. Seeing how it shakes.
Every single one of these receivers can see 100 plus. Will see 100 plus targets. I mean, it's madness for a PPR team. I'm telling you, if I was going against this team on Sunday, I'm not even looking at the running back slot. Like if whoever they have as running back 1 and running back 2 is getting, 5 to 10 carries a game, like I'm concerned. And actually, something we didn't talk about much, Kyle, with the zero RB strategy is these like PPR monster guys like the Nyheim Hines or like James White of James White passed. If you're playing in a PPR league and you can sneak these guys in at the end of the draft because no one wants them because they don't get any carries, but they're active in the passing game. JD McKissick of last season. I mean, if they're catching 7 balls, you've got 7 points right off the bat. I'm not trying to dumb it down for the listeners or anything, but another way to look at it, if you're going zero RB, you don't have to shoot for the moon with a guy that you hope is gonna, or you hope that his counterpart, his committee member gets injured. You don't have to hope that the rookie breaks out. Just another perspective on zero RB.
Yeah, and I think that's like we talked about before, like the anchor zero RB, like when you have Saquon or Cook or Taylor, like if you go round 1 running back and then you go heavy the rest of the way, wait to the later rounds, that's definitely a strategy again where you can kind of set and forget one spot, but you can kind of, anchor light. I don't know, like with one of those guys where it's like, okay, I can start my PPR specialist running back every week. And then you kind of have your touchdown or bust type guy, whether it be Latavius Murray or Gus Edwards or, somebody like that, that feels a lot more comfortable than like how I got stuck last year in that league I kept referencing that I went extreme zero RB. I ended up with like Sony Michel and Darrell Henderson, right? Like for a while there. And it was just like, oh God, like fall in the end zone, please, because you're literally going to get me 5 points otherwise. So, and if I'm lucky, type of thing. So you need, those pass catchers are a great way to offset the fact that you didn't get a high workload running back otherwise.
Your league mates will be pissed when you're playing against them and they start, Joe Mixon and he ends up going out there and he rushes for 60 yards and catches 2 passes for 10 yards. And then you have,
McKissick's the absolute worst. Like last year, I was like, anytime I saw somebody start McKissick, I'm like, F you, dude. Like, what the hell? Like, I hate you.
Catches 12 passes or something.
Yeah. It was ridiculous. And he like for 40 yards. I'm like, yeah, this is why PPR is trash. But
that is how you execute zero RB.
Yes. So we're in round 6 now. I think this is true. Like there were a couple names I liked at the running back position that are now gone, like, or mainly one, I guess.
We screwed the pooch there. The ship has sailed.
Yeah, it's definitely we're staring down some ugly names. There is one that I'm not sure will be here or not. And that's Mike Davis. His auto draft status I don't think is up to what we will see in August. If he is a round 6 running back, that would be the most glorious RB1 for a zero RB squad to get him in round 6, because I think he's gonna have a pretty nice start to the season for sure.
We've already seen Josh Jacobs go, Chase Edmonds go, ETN, David Johnson. I gotta believe by that time that the hype will catch up and people will understand what I've been talking about here with Mike Davis.
The thing that I was hoping for was that maybe Hawkinson would make it to us if we wanted to just like kick running back down again. But like Lamar and Dak came off the board on this turn too. So now we're looking at, we still got Herbert and Wilson, kind of at the top of the board, of those quarterbacks. Tight ends, the best ones are Goddard and Fant. Pitts is still available. Again, I don't think he'll be here on draft day either. But at the running back position, we're looking at Raheem Mostert, Ronald Jones, Damian Harris, Mike Davis, Leonard Fournette, James Conner. So
this is where you can really end up digging yourself into a hole, because what I was talking about before with the zero RB strategy and why it might be so tempting is because you're looking down the barrel of AJ Brown, DK Metcalf, as opposed to taking Cam Akers or Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And now when it's like, watered down to the point where we're talking about taking the running backs that you just listed off versus even the quarterbacks your name, I'm like, oh yeah, of course I'd rather have Justin Herbert than the remaining, than take a shot on Ronald Jones. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's like, how much longer do you think you can go before it's like, I am in serious trouble? I know we still have Michael Carter out there. I don't know how long he's going to last once once hype really starts to take off, because already just today there was some report that came out. Some New York Jets beat reporter saying that he could take over the RB1 slot. I'm almost positive that's how they worded it, which I thought was hilarious, because it was like, who's the RB1 now?
Yeah, who's he taking this from? Because it's got to be no one there at the moment. Yeah.
But I don't know, man. What do you think? I'm curious to get your thoughts.
Yeah. So the other thing to consider too, when you're looking at these decisions, that I try really hard on draft day, especially when you know your slot, like keeping in mind there's certain tricks that I'm always trying to make note of, and just so that I can better, have a better feel for how the draft might come back to me in the next round. With this, not only is it round 6, we have the long turn coming up. So it's definitely, if it was going the other way, you only have 8 players after you, until it gets back. If there's a guy that you're like, maybe there's like 2 guys that maybe I like, hopefully one of those makes it back to me. In this case, it's going to be even more unlikely. So I don't love what's on the board, obviously, at running back. I feel like when you look at the receivers, and this is why generally I'm not going 0 RB, because these are guys that I'm comfortable with as wide receiver 2. You still got Jamar Chase on the board, Higgins, Sutton, Claypool, Juju. I mean, it's stacked at the wide receiver position here in round 6.
This would be the case against 0.
Yes, exactly.
Where we're sitting right now.
Exactly. I mean, but that's why we do this, is to see. So do you want to wait on running back one more round, or do you?
We might as well. Are you concerned someone's going to take Ronald Jones? You got to have Ronald Jones.
If I'm, there's not one guy, like Mike Davis is the one guy right now that I would say,
in the scenario that Mike Davis actually fell to this spot, I don't anticipate that happening coming draft season. But if Mike Davis is on the board right here, if David Montgomery fell here, we were talking about him before, slipping a little bit down in ADP. I'm pretty much taking anyone who's getting carries in their backfield regularly.
Yeah.
Or a guy who's not in a serious committee role.
Yeah, so let's pretend that Mike Davis is not on the board here. Let's pretend that Mike Davis went 2 picks ahead of us, where David Johnson was taken, because I think that's more likely. That I feel pretty confident that Mike Davis's ADP is going to be ahead of David Johnson come August. So let's pretend that happens. Let's say Davis is on the board. There's not another running back that I'm in love with here. I could probably again wait and get if Fournette fell to us, that'd be fine. If James Conner fell to us, I guess I could try to live with that.
There is like 3 more Houston running backs available.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Rex Burkhead apparently.
Yeah.
So I'm okay going another route here. I guess do we want to go with 6 straight wide receivers?
Yes, we do it. Oh, you know what? I don't know. Justin Herbert's there. Maybe that should be the move.
All right, let's go Herbert. Let's just do that. All right, we'll go that route again. Just kicking running backs down the road here, seeing what our teams look like when they come off here. So as this is playing out,
we're committed at this point, guys.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no saving the running back position, so we might as well capitalize on what's available. Because again, like I was saying before in the opening of the show, like people don't think about the trading aspect of things. Like, don't look at your draft right here and say, "Oh no, I have to take a running back or I'm screwed." Like, what quarterbacks are left right now? Take 3 more of them. Trade him to someone who doesn't have a quarter. Maybe not so much in a 1 quarterback league, but
that's gonna be
tight ends who are available. I know there's still receivers available. Those guys will have value, especially if they end up popping in the regular season. So,
I'll lend even this into my story. I keep bringing up about this when I used it last year. The best part was when I tried it in that league, it was a league that I got invited to. I knew one guy, good dude, but it was just buddies that he worked with, right? So I was like, okay, this is probably a good group to test this out with. Nobody knows me, right? I'm going like incognito in here, like, because usually when I'm drafting, all my buddies know, how I like to draft. They listen, they know where to find my crap. They can find out who I like and all that. So
at Kyle month 8.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like kind of hanging out in this draft. I'm like, okay, wide receiver, Travis Kelce, wide receiver. So then by round 4, everyone's like, you don't have a running back yet? And I'm like, I mean, I don't know. I'm just here to, eat pizza,
What is a running back?
And then all of a sudden my buddy's like, oh, he's a big fantasy football guy. I'm like, damn it. So now it turned into like, oh, this guy's a brainiac, right? I'm just like, no, just trying to, So then I almost like had to prove a point. I'm like, yeah, F your running back, right? Yeah, so I got a little carried away.
F your running back.
So like that, sometimes you can make go a little bit too far here. We're in round 7. We're staring down at the running back position now. Leonard Fournette, James Conner, Kenyon Drake, Javonte Williams. He's down here. Trey Sermon is still, Michael Carter, again, round 7. Plenty of wide receivers at tight end. We got Noah Fant, Kyle Pitts. We just took the QB. So we got 5 wide receivers and Herbert on our team. So do we want to take a running back now as our RB1?
I'll be honest. And it's not great, but I don't hate the running backs names that you just listed off. If Kenyon Drake ends up getting a bigger role than we expected, I like what Trey Sermon's kind of a wild card coming out of college. He flashed a little bit at in the college football playoffs. A couple of those Houston guys that we don't know, like we joke about this big Houston committee, but who knows who might end up emerging out of that. I'm a Leonard Fournette fanboy.
Yeah.
I think for the sake of what we're doing here today, I'd like to hear the wide receivers.
All right, wide receivers. We got still have Jamar Chase. Again, I think he'll be bump up a little bit. That's ridiculous, right? But Jamar Chase is still on the board. Brandon Cooks, Jarvis Landry, your boy, Jerry Jeudy, Corey Davis, Deebo Samuel, Tyler Boyd.
Is there any tight ends left?
Tight ends. We got Noah Fant, Kyle Pitts. We could go Pitts here. Again, I don't think it's likely he'll be here, but we could.
Why don't you take Pitts or Chase because someone's got to?
All right, we'll take Kyle Pitts. We'll just go tight end here. Obviously, you can use a placeholder as that we just went non-running back again in round 7. So short turn coming back to us here in round 8. Connor came off the board. Fournette 2 picks before us. So now we're sitting here in round 8 with 5 wide receivers, Herbert and Pitts. So our starting lineup, is filled. Technically, Deontay Johnson's on the pine at the moment. We have no running backs. So
Deontay Johnson's on the pine.
Yeah, dude. I mean, whatever.
That's silly. All right, I think it's time. I say we start unloading the arsenal. You talked about. I can't even remember if we were live when we were talking about it, but the draft that you said at your last entire back half of the draft was running backs. I think it's time to start pulling some lottery tickets and see if we can take one of these ends up becoming a winner.
All right, so we got Carter and Sermon, the rookies, and then at the top of the ADP list, Zach Moss, Kenyon Drake, Javonte Williams, Dillon, and Pollard.
I think I like Javonte Williams right there. What do you think?
All right, let's do that. Let's just go Williams as our RB1, the rook, coming off the board. And then we got the long turn coming back to round 9 here. So it's definitely interesting when you're punted this far on running back, but I think we're just going to lottery ticket through to get through the rest of this draft. So we'll keep just plugging away to see who's on the board when it gets back to us. So as this gets to us here, we're looking at Nyheim Hines, Gus Edwards, Jamal Williams, Trey Sermon. Michael Carter is still available here in round 9. So
yeah, you got to feel like any guy who has a chance to command carries in his backfield, even if it's in a Jets backfield, is you gotta run away with that pick. I think Michael Carter here.
Yep, I agree. So we'll take him. So now he's our starting 2 running backs are the rookies in this 2021 redraft 0 RB scenario. Javonte Williams, Michael Carter.
And teammates in North Carolina.
There we go. See, we're bringing it all together here. Your boy Latavius Murray goes 1 pick ahead of us, so we're staring down the barrel now. Trey Sermon is still available. Phillip Lindsay, Gus Edwards. I think Hines came off the board, so that little PPR cheat code is gone, but Cohen's still there, and so is McKissick for whatever that's worth now in that new look offense. What you thinking here?
I think I'm torn between Trey Sermon and Gus Edwards. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I would have definitely gone Gus Edwards a week ago, but with what the hell? Why am I blanking on his name? Generic running back human name.
I don't think I can help you.
Oh my, Jeff Wilson. Sorry. He's out for probably most of the season. So Now Sermon moves up that depth chart due to the injury already. I think
who's out?
Jeff Wilson.
What, did he go to Baltimore?
No, in San Francisco. I was talking about the upside of Trey Sermon. I would have gone Gus Edwards.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I was all over the place. Continue, my friend.
I would have gone Gus Edwards a week ago, but with Jeff Wilson out now in San Francisco, Trey Sermon has a lot more upside to me in this case. He's just got to beat out Raheem Mostert, who has not been the picture of health himself either. So we'll take a little bit of flyer. We got 3 straight rookie running backs here. We're shooting for the stars a little bit.
I like that. At least there's a lot of high upside there. And I don't want to say there's like a high floor, but I like what Javonte Williams brings, even if there is someone already existing in Denver. I like the fact that Michael Carter can just take over and be one of the, he can be this class's James Robinson. I know that's kind of weak to say. I'm sure everyone's been saying that he could end up being this year's James Robinson, but you close your eyes, you can see it happening. Not a lot of competition in New York.
One spot ahead of us, dang it, the guy I was hoping would fall back down to us was Philip Lindsay. He's a guy that I'm trying to target in some leagues. He's not a PPR stud, despite like the small stature. Everybody just assumes he's a PPR guy. He's not, but I do like him in the double-digit rounds. I like what we have here so far. If we're keeping with the running backs, we're looking at now McKissick, James White, Rashad Penny, Madison, Mack, Bernard, Gainwell.
Boy, I'll be honest. I think you might be just phoning it in at this point.
We're just throwing darts. It's hoping that one of them sticks.
Hoping that the starter gets hurt.
Yeah, pretty much. So again, and we're in round 11. So this is, and just for quick comparison here, we're not going to go wide receiver, but these are the wide receivers that are still on the board. Your boy Antonio Brown, Marvin Jones, Michael Pittman, T.Y. Hilton, Beasley, Mims. Those guys are the wide receivers that are available here. So
I'd take Antonio Brown over all of those losers.
It's just that who are those people? The courtroom for Antonio Brown. Yeah. Jeez. We still want to throw some darts at running back here.
You know what? If it's my pick, I'm not even joking with you. Why is Antonio Brown still on the board? He was the best wide receiver in the league like 2 years ago. I guess Todd Gurley was the best running back in the league. 2 years ago.
We'll just take Antonio Brown to make Jake happy. So we'll just do that. Coming back, I'm just go with the hated one. I'll go JD McKissick. It's, if we're looking PPR, we're looking at some running backs that we're not sure what they're going to be at the beginning of the season, especially when you look at Williams and Sermon. Maybe McKissick can get us going out of the gate, weather the storm, waiting for Javonte's audition to end and be handed the reins.
A little bit of a Antonio Gibson hype storm today too. Something about Ron Rivera coming out and saying he's going to have a big year or he's going to really come out this year. I'm paraphrasing, obviously, but sounds like good things for Antonio Gibson. So I wonder how involved JD McKissick stays in that offense.
We will see. We got 3 more rounds. These are the running backs we're staring down: Bernard, Gainwell, Ryan.
Let me stop you right there. I feel like Kenny Gainwell has a lot of upside. He was one of those guys coming into college, like even before the whole whatever they call it when you say you're not going to play. Before
opt out.
Yes. Thanks, man. Before he opted out last season, he was like one of the bigger names in college football. As one of those premier pass catching running backs. Like we know that's in his arsenal. So if he ends up getting more carries than we think in Philadelphia, he can be relevant this year. I like Kenny Gainwell.
Yeah, Boston Scott is still available too. Obviously, we're looking at this from a redraft perspective, so I think they're pretty close, but a little bit more of the unknown with Gainwell in a system that has traditionally used a second running back. As much as we love Miles Sanders, he, just like most, has missed some time, and they haven't committed to giving him 25 touches a game. So you want to go with another rookie? You want to take Gainwell in round 13?
Yeah, let's shoot for the stars, man.
All right, we're just loading up on the rookie running backs outside of old JD McKissick on our squad here. So again, 0 RB strategy. This is how we got 2 rounds left. We started with 5 wide receivers. Then we went Herbert and Pitts, and then we started in round 8, hammering the running backs. We made an Antonio Brown sandwich, but we have Javonte Williams, Michael Carter, Trey Sermon, McKissick, and Gainwell.
That's so funny looking at the random Antonio Brown pick in the middle of all like the rookie running backs.
That's I mean that's how I picture Antonio Brown now at this point. Yeah. The guy's insane. So we got man, that now it's getting really gross. Mark Ingram, P. Ryan, Boston Scott, Josh Kelly. Oh boy. Yeah, McFarland.
Yeah,
Malcolm Brown in Miami.
I'll be honest with you. I'm not going to fight you on any pick at this point.
All right, we're going to go Malcolm Brown. Okay. I think it's at least interesting. He's the only guy they brought in this offseason. So,
and he was kind of a pest in
he was an absolute an absolute pest, man. I couldn't stand him every single week. I'm like, get him out of the way. And he just kept stealing touchdowns. So I know Gaskin was solid at the end of the last season, but I just don't trust whatever else they have there in Miami. So if you're talking round 14, round 15, just to put a bow on this thing, let's go with.
Looks like we're not getting Lamar Miller.
No, we could take Javion Hawkins just to get one more rookie.
I like that. Javion Hawkins. I think I saw he's like 150 pounds or something.
We'll do it.
I think I'm only joking a little bit. Like he's a very, very tiny dude. But
yeah, he's small. He's small.
Depth chart in Atlanta, so it could work out for the young man.
So just seeing how this shook out again, just trying to see what our team will look like here with zero RB strategy. We waited until round 8 in this draft. We went Tyreek Hill, Justin Jefferson, Amari Cooper, DJ Moore. Those guys can all slot into the 2 wide receiver and the flex spots. Then we took Deontay Johnson on the pine, Herbert and Pitts to round out the starting lineup besides the running backs. Then we went full rookie blast them with Javonte Williams, Michael Carter, Trey Sermon, Antonio Brown, J.D. McKissick, and then Gainwell, Malcolm Brown, and Hawkins from the Atlanta Falcons to wrap it up. What's your thoughts, Jake, as we did this mock draft here early June with zero RB strategy?
It's mostly as I expected. I think it's even scarier if you go into it with a predetermined mindset of, okay, I'm going in and I'm playing zero RB in this draft. Because then you do exactly what we did here. And I was saying before, you get caught up in the early idea of, okay, I'm going to just take all these valuable receivers while everyone else takes the running backs. But then you're kind of caught chasing yourself. You never get the running back you want. And at the end of the day, I think you just got to hope that you can end up trading one of those wide receivers ultimately. Like you said, it seems a little counterproductive, but who knows? Maybe if you're a good trader in your league, you can make something happen and get a running back. But when you leave the draft with Javonte Williams as your running back 1, and like I said before, this strategy can be lethal. Like if Melvin Gordon goes down in week 1, we don't know that's going to happen. We wouldn't wish that would happen to Mr. Gordon. But Javonte Williams he's a league winner. You know what I'm saying? I think just like that, he's a league winner. I think the same thing can be said for a lot of guys that are in committees that are available in those late rounds. So if you hit on one of those guys and you're able to stack your team with all these PPR monsters, I mean, it's certainly doable. It's just not recommended.
Yeah, the tough part here is like when I look at this, some of the high upside handcuff guys as of right now, and we'll get more news and we'll adapt and everything. But like we didn't necessarily, Williams is the one guy, and Carter should have a direct path to playing time. And maybe Sermon is that guy now with Wilson going down. But like we didn't get kind of like Gus Edwards, AJ Dillon, like those kind of guys are like, man, I feel like those are like slam dunks. Like I feel really, really good about those guys at the starter misses time. Right. But though AJ Dillon went in round 8, Gus Edwards did make it to round 10, but like, and he had Kenyon Drake, kind of same scenario. I think he'll catch some passes, but if whenever Josh Jacobs misses time, but he's going in round 8. So just like you really, even when you're paying for these guys in round, 8, 9, 10, like it feels like those guys should be way later in the draft, but they're not, it's just because that's what's left at the running back position if you want to take those shots. So
position scarcity.
It's definitely interesting. This is not my cup of tea necessarily. We'll see how this plays out. We'll do some more mock drafts over the course of this season. Maybe I'll commit one to like seeing how the anchor strategy works. Cause I wouldn't mind, we could have gone Zeke Elliott with our pick as an example. And then if he's our RB1 and if we just wait all the way till round 8 or 9 and then go Williams, Carter, Sermon, like I feel pretty good about one of those guys, working out.
All of a sudden I'm way more comfortable with that team at that point. If you add that anchor running back.
Yeah.
But again, you never know with the game of football. Like we said before, you end up taking one of those anchor running backs. A guy is going to have a tremendous workload. He ends up getting hurt. Now you're just playing regular zero RB again.
Yeah, and I think the one thing, the most important thing with that as well, and maybe it's more similar to my super flex strategy in a lot of places. Like I don't really need two studs. If I have one, I feel like I can balance the second one. It's kind of similar to that. You're treating it that like I'm only playing two running backs. I'm gonna get my one, and I'll figure it out with the other ones. You have to draw that line then. Like, where does my anchor tier end? Like for me, Zeke would be in that tier. Nick Chubb would be pretty close. Is Joe Mixon an anchor? Not for me. Like I don't know. Like I feel like he's just
Najee Harris an anchor.
He potentially, like he's close. I'd put him over Mixon. I don't know, man. Like
I only hit that button because I didn't have a boo. I just downloaded a nice boo button.
It's definitely an interesting discussion to have, and but I think it's something you have to consider, if anything else, just because everybody else is going robust RB, right? So we're at an hour 10. Appreciate you guys hanging out, having the discussions. Hit us up on Twitter at KyleMonth8, at JakeTakesFF. Let us know your thoughts. Let us know if you've tried this, if you found success with it, what other things might be helpful. For people to know, I would love to have some discussion here from some ideas you guys have brought up. Before we end the show, Jake, we're going to do a before and after here, because this upcoming Saturday, this might be a reminder for you, but hopefully you're already aware. This upcoming Saturday, you will be participating with myself and some other people from the interwebs I've met through other leagues and Patreon, and in your first ever auction. Is that correct?
First ever auction. I decided I'm going into it zero preparation. I'm just going to go in blindfolded. I'm going to do my very best, and if my team stinks, I'm going to trade my way to a victory.
I would want to know how you're feeling. So you're not nervous. You're just going zero prep. So you can't be nervous then, right?
No, just completely, just ignorance.
All right. And this is the mother of all auctions too. Because we're doing reality sports online. So it is contracts. It is full salary. It's craziness. And I roped Jake into this with a few other buddies. So we'll need to do a little bit of recap at least on next week. So we won't forget about that. But until then, guys, appreciate you tuning into the podcast. Thanks for bearing with us as these few extra days. Again, stay subscribed to the War Zone. Rate and review the show if you like what you hear. We'll be back at you next Monday night. Drop it Tuesday on the podcast. We'll catch you guys later.